Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take Back Control Tuesday. Now, I can't tell you what the outcome is going to be for each and every one of you, but what I can tell you is for the next hour and 40 minutes, the time we're going to spend together, if you apply what you learn, this will change your financial future. If you're here, that means you're ready for change. And tonight, that's exactly what we're gonna deliver. I've got a special guest for you. His name's Jason Sipple. He is a master of what you're gonna learn. But what are you going to learn? Well, Jason's gonna teach you three things. He's gonna teach you how to take back control of your money by being your own bank. And then he's also gonna teach you how to build wealth through your own debts and expenses. That'll be the second thing you learn. And the third thing you'll learn, hence the cars, you're gonna learn how to get all the money back for every single car that you ever buy, drive, and own. And before you get into it, one last favor, just click that button right there, the subscribe button. It would do me a huge favor. And also, right above is a little bell. Smash that bell so that every time I put new content out, you'll be notified. So I don't want to waste any more time. It's time for Jason to really show you all about the infinite banking concepts. Let's roll.
Take back control.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday?
What if by changing one thing, just one, everything would be better financially for your family? Would you change the one thing to be financially free? That one paradigm shift and new skill set, new mindset is the gap between you and the wealthiest families. It's the difference between being a borrower or being a builder. So who here, show of hands or eyes in the chat, wants more money? Who here wants more control of your money? And who here wants to paint their face blue like William Wallace and have more freedom? Can we get some eyes in the chat for that? I'm going to let you in on a little known secret. A little known fact, the wealthiest families and visionaries like the Rockefellers and Walt Disney have been using this strategy called the infinite banking concept for ages to build and preserve their empires. The strategy is simple, it's legal, and it's something that each and every one of you have access to. And it all starts with changing the one thing. Start loving yourself more. Start paying yourself first. Shockingly, we're giving away a big chunk of all of our money every time we get paid to the bank, the government, and to Wall Street. Would you like to know how you can recapture and recycle this money, bringing it back into your family instead of someone else's family? Again, it all starts with one simple change. Where does your money go first? So get ready as we dive into the infinite banking process, where you can finance all of your purchases through a system that you control and keep the interest in your family. We're going to show you how you can turn your debts into an asset, how banks make their fortune off of your money, and why success leaves clues. Just like Tony Robbins says, you have to know where that success is, what the clues are, follow the breadcrumbs because they're right there in front of you. Now, I thought this was unbelievable. Someone who's been working most of their adult life in a 9-to-5 or more like a 7-to-7 job, but now as an entrepreneur. And trust me, once you see how simple this concept is, you'll realize that there is a financial freedom and a future for you and your family where you are in control of your system and you can preserve generational wealth with changing that one thing. We're going to go through these real life examples, show you real applications of what you can do right now, today, that puts you in a position of building instead of borrowing. You might think this is unattainable right now, but I promise you, it's really within your grasp. My only request is that you keep an open mind and you understand that if you don't know what I'm talking about, you just don't know it yet. Everything begins with the way we think. So let's get started. So R. Nelson Nash said the infinite banking concept is an exercise of imagination, reason, logic, and prophecy. I got that from Think Tank this past weekend. Now I want you all to join me in this exercise of imagination. So wherever you're at, as long as you're not driving down the road, I don't need anyone crashing, don't need any kind of legal implications or people getting injured on Take Back Control Tuesday. But I want you all to close your eyes and imagine something with me. Imagine that you're right now in a room with 100 high school new graduates. And in the front of the room, asking these new grads about their future. And I ask them a simple question. How many of you are going to be successful financially by the time you're ready to retire? They're all going to be, ooh, me, calling me, Jason, jumping up, yelling out before I even get to say anything and saying, I'm going to be the next Elon, the next Mark Zuckerberg, the next Bill Gates. I'm going to be the next billionaire, the next millionaire. I'm going to be wildly successful. And then something happens, something that's slow, insidious, and kind of creeps in over time. These excited teenagers with the whole world in front of them start to become borrowers. They start to fall into a trap, a mindset, a way of thinking, a pattern. And then this shocking statistic becomes our reality. This is shocking. According to the Social Security Administration, only 5 out of 100 of those excited teenagers are going to be financially secure by retirement age. Now, I don't even believe in the word retirement. I believe in passive income. I believe in adding value and being a builder instead of a borrower. Now, everyone that's here, you're already doing what the 95% won't do. You're giving me your most valuable resource, your attention, and I will serve you because of it, because you are different. You want to know how to think differently. You want to know how it's possible in the greatest country with the most opportunity in the world, in the greatest time of our history. Despite what the news and media are telling you, this is the greatest time in our history because there is so much that is possible. So much technology, so much connectiveness, so much is possible. And it just starts with our thinking. Everything begins with the way we think. Like, I love this quote by Will Rogers. The problem in America isn't what we don't know. Again, the problem in America isn't what we don't know. It's what we think we know that just ain't so. Could it be that we're taught to think a certain way and it's not serving us? Could we have conformed over this period of time to bring you right where you're at today? Well, that's great. Now you're here. So let's talk about who I am and why I ended up in the same place that you're at today. If you go in the rewind machine, we go back in time a little bit. I was doing what I believed I was meant to do. I was serving and coaching in a peak performance coaching company that helped people really connect and feel like what they said mattered, that they were seen, heard, and important. And as I'm in the back of this mastermind in Mahwah, New Jersey, the leader of our group, our coach, our mentor, our guide, was getting everybody pumped up. He was saying, how much money are you going to have next year? What do you want? Where do you live? Who's around you? What do you dream about? What do you want? And I invite you to think about these things in this moment for yourself. What do you want? What do you dream of? Where are you going? Who do you need to become to achieve these things? Well, as he's yelling these things out, as I'm watching people that I have been coaching for months, for the year around me, getting excited, screaming, seeing the possibility and love and glowing in their face, I started crying. I broke down and In that moment, I felt like a failure as a man, a failure as a husband, and a failure to my boys as a father. And I realized that I was building other people's dreams and I was lost. I did not understand money. I thought money was something that if I showed up first, if I left last, if I worked hard, if I was absolutely humble to my core and just there to serve, everything would be okay. But my reality was, like Einstein said, if you don't know the rules of the game, how could you possibly win? Or actually, Einstein said it first, know the rules of the game and then play better than anyone else. Well, that began a shift. That low point became my launching point. It showed me that my pattern was not serving me. My thinking was not working because I wasn't owning my thinking. I was giving it up to other peoples, to the bank, to Wall Street, to the government, and to employers. I was giving up my autonomy to everyone else, and I hadn't given myself permission yet to own it. So I went to a friend, a mentor, and I asked him for help. I said, "Yo, B Rep, I need help, man. I need a financial philosophy." And he handed me a book. And I almost always want to pick it up and show you during this moment, but you're going to see it in a moment. But he gave me this book right off his coffee table. I went home that Tuesday night and I read it. And luckily it was late, or I would have called him that night and asked him something. So I read it, I became angry, I became confused, and I literally thought, like all of you have, if this was true, every American would do this. This is too good to be true. And so I read the book again the next day. And it's not impressive. It's got it's only like 70 pages of writing with lots of pictures. It's a 92-page book, but I read the book again the next evening and I called him up and I said, "Rep, UTF, why didn't you tell me this?" And you know what he said? It was profound. "Sip, you weren't ready." It's like they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. So I went down this rabbit hole. Now let's jump into who else has talked about this. Who are the people that you've heard of? This is not a new concept, as I shared right from the beginning. It's been around for hundreds of years. It is not a get rich quick scheme. It is an exercise of your thinking, your imagination, and your belief in yourself and in something better. So who talks about this? One guy you might know, he had a rich dad and a poor dad growing up, and he learned a lot from both. And many of you have read his books, but have you read this book, Second Chance by Robert Kiyosaki? He talks about the infinite banking concept in Second Chance. And then there's a guy who I already referenced on my first minute of this presentation or of this educational series, but the big man, the giant dude, Tony Robbins, Money Master of the Game, section 5.2, I believe. He talks about whole life insurance, permanent life insurance. He's not talking about other variations, just permanent life insurance. And then you got the book I was talking about, Nelson Nash's Becoming Your Own Banker. Now, the edition I have, which is laying here somewhere next to me, there we go, is the 5th edition. It's the one I share with many of you. And if you have been doing this with me, you know that I've requested that you read this. I've even told you how to read it, what pages to read first, what to read again, and what are the patterns to look for. Because again, this is a exercise of our thinking. And then we have my partners, my peers that are helping spread this message, helping cause a change and break people free of financial slavery. You've got Chris Naugle and Brent Kessler mapping out the millionaire mystery, which is part of what I'm showing you today. And then you have Chris, who also wrote the Private Money Guide because he understands that the most valuable business in the world is what? Right in the chat. It is banking. It is the most profitable business in the world. Why wouldn't we want to take back control of that function? So let's talk about this intriguing concept. Let's talk about the backwards bicycle. And I want you all to think back to our imagination. I want you to think either about you being young or your kids or your grandkids. Who learns quickly? right? Who learns quickly? Our kids. And why, scientifically, why is that? Why can they learn so quickly? Well, it's because their neural pathways haven't formed and become set yet. They haven't been groomed and thought the same things over and over again. Scientifically, our neural pathways form from repetition. Think about anything that you've become good at or even great at in your life. What have you done to get there? It didn't just happen naturally. You found out maybe you had, a talent somewhere and you did it over and over and over again. So go back to when you were learning how to ride a bike. Remember how it worked? You pushed down the pedals and what happened? The bike went forward. You turned the handlebars to the right and the bike went to the right. Turn them to the left and the bike went left. For me, as a young man, as a boy, this was my first freedom to explore the hills and the mountains of New Jersey and just go explore and come back when it got dark. I love cycling, still do to this day. Now, what if the bike didn't work like that? Remember, everyone says it's as easy as riding a bike. Once you learn how to ride a bike, you'll never forget, right? Or something like that. What if it didn't work that way? What if somebody played a joke and they decided to change how the bike worked? They changed how the handlebars work. So now when you you push forward, it still goes forward on the pedals. But when you turn to the right, the bike goes left. When you turn to the left, the bike goes right. How many here, show of eyes in the chat, think they could still ride this backwards bicycle? Most of you probably think, yes, your ego says, I could do it. Ride a bike's not hard. I would know how to do it. But that pattern hasn't been ingrained and you wouldn't be able to do it. When you watch this video, go on YouTube. I'm not going to watch you or show the whole 20-minute video, but watch the video. It's fascinating. It takes the guy like 8 months to learn how to ride the backwards bicycle. And then when he tries to go back and ride a normal bicycle, he can't do it. But he makes a bet with his son, who's like my son's age or my youngest son's age, to see if he could do it. And he did it in like a eighth of the time. I want to say it took his son like 6 weeks. And again, why is that? Because his patterns hadn't been turned into deep ravines or ruts yet. His thinking wasn't set, it wasn't fixed. But when we've been groomed to give up control of our money, when we've been taught to assume all the risk, guess what happens? Well, what if money worked exactly like riding a backwards bicycle? What if what I'm going to show you about money is going to make you a little bit uncomfortable? And you're going to say, Jason, I don't think that's true. But what if it was? What if it was that paradigm shift, that changing that one thing that gives you the freedom? Again, would you want to know about it? What would you do once you knew? Because again, thinking you could ride the backwards bicycle versus practice and repetition to ride it are vastly different. You guys agree? So let's jump in to your journey. This is your journey. This is all about you. You are the hero of this journey. This is your story. You are not only the imagination, you're also the writer, the director, and the superstar of your own play. So I want to ask you, where are you at financially today? What is the next thing, the next pattern that you have to interrupt to make progress? And why do you want to make progress? Because like anything, progress equals happiness. What is that one thing? Now, you're all going to see this list. That's why I'm not showing you yet. And you're all going to say, Jason, I want all of those things and I want them now. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. And I would say, cool, but where are you today? Let's be honest. All progress also starts with us being honest. So number one is going to be eliminate outside debt rapidly. Remember I said, let's turn your debt into assets, which I'm going to go through an example a little further on in this presentation. So is that where you're at today? Do you need to eliminate debt and eliminate the high interest that you're paying to other families? Number two is build wealth for purchases. Build a fund or build an opportunity fund to buy the things that you want to buy. It's okay to want things, but you have to be able to have the discipline to pay yourself first. Number 3 is to create passive income. Remember, Nelson says there is no such thing as retirement. You want to do what Warren Buffett said, that listen, if you don't learn to put your money to work, you will work for money until the day you die. We want to put these little green men to work at some point. We want to learn how to build passive income. And finally, a tax-free wealth transfer. Tax-free. Does anybody here think they don't pay enough taxes, or they're not going to pay enough taxes in the future? And if you're confused about taxes, go back and look at the history of taxes. They are historically low right now, which I'm going to get into. But does anyone think they don't pay enough taxes and would hope that their kids and their grandkids have to pay more taxes on what you intend to leave them? So isn't a tax-free wealth transfer attractive, something that you want? So what's your first priority? Write it down in your notebook. This is interactive. Write it in the chat, share with others. Now, this I'm not going to spend much time on today. I actually meant to hide this one, but I still believe it's important. Why aren't people or more people successful? Why, by the time that you reach retirement age or passive income age, does 95% of Americans fail in being financially free, being financially able to stop working and have enough income coming in where they don't have to go back to work? Well, like I said, does anyone here, the wealth killers, does anyone here not pay enough taxes? Please share in the chat if you want to pay more taxes. Does anyone here think that they want to pay more in inflation dollars? They want to pay more for their eggs or more for their fuel than they are today. How about volatility? How about the market going up and down? Now, if you're a crypto millionaire or someone watching this that loves crypto, it went down a lot today. I know, because the guy I ride with will not buy me coffee when the crypto is down. But when it's up, he'll buy. I said, hey, we got to fix this. I think you're going to be going down for a while. And now, interest. Does anyone want to pay other people more interest? Either the volume of interest over a long period of time or a higher interest rate for these predatory credit cards? Anyone? And then you have your mindset. So I talk about how this is all either math or mindset. My belief is that once you understand the problem, you'll know what to do. But first, you have to get to the point where you're ready to apply new information, where you're ready to have courage and go above your ego, above what you believe was true before. And so that is the status quo. That is the fear of failure, the fear of rejection. That is what we're taught, that I keep talking about. So a financial philosophy that I've adopted, and maybe you want to write this down, is there's more to be had from avoiding the losses than there is from picking the winners. So let's go over the mysteries of money. So first, in the chat down below, I want you to share what is your definition of money. And let's keep it simple. Keep it simple, right? What is your definition of money? Let's establish a common ground, a common language for what we're going to talk about. The definition of money, you're right. It is nothing more than a means of exchange. It doesn't have any intrinsic value. It's just a means of exchange. House for money, money for house. House for car, car for money, house for food, or money for food, food for money, money for car, car for money, money for house, house for money. Okay, that was a fun moment. And what company uses compound interest? Now, you might have just jumped out of your seat or put your hand up and said, ooh, Jason, I know. It's the banks. Well, it is true that the banks might pay you interest, but it's most likely not compounding over time, right? The bank is not in the business of using, or any business in the business of using compound interest. Instead, they have to keep money in motion. There's this idea that money in motion makes more money. I want you to think about it. Like when you put your money, you go to the teller and hand them $100. They don't write your name. They don't write Jeanette or Nancy on the $100 bill and stick it in a little box with your name on it. So when you need that same money, you go back and get it. No, as soon as you deposit it, that money's in motion, which I'm going to show you later on. Now, here's one that can get a little confusing. Are your dollars worth more today or in the future? Are they worth more today or in the future? How about this? Pretend you have a dollar. Maybe you do. Look, I have some of these coin dollars here. This dollar 20 years ago, 30 years ago, could have bought me how many candy bars? At least one, right? I probably could have got 50 cents back and got a candy bar. Today, if I went with that $1, how many candy bars can I buy? None? A half of one? A quarter of one? They made the candy bars bigger, more expensive. They're king size, and that it doesn't even bring me into the health part of things or somebody named before. But your dollar is most valuable today. It'll be worth less in the future. So I want you to use your valuable, strong dollars today to use weaker dollars in the future. Taxes, are they going up or down? Again, I mentioned it. We are in a historically low tax period. Sounds a little wild. People don't really believe it, but it's historically low taxes right now. Now, if you don't have a grasp on this, go check out usdebtclock.org. Be prepared. It's shocking. You will see that we as a country are over $36 trillion in debt, and that's going to go up by another 10 trillion in the next year and a half to 2 years, which is nuts. That is crazy. So I'm guessing that if our taxes don't go up, they're just going to find more things to tax us on, spread a wider net, if you will. And what do you know about your retirement account? Are you really qualified to know what's happening inside that account? Do you know if that money is guaranteed going to grow? Do you know how it's going to grow, what you're invested in? Until you have a lot of research and really understand the market, remember, we want you to be invested in things that you know, like, and understand. I can ask you a few questions, but one I could ask you about your retirement account is that you are deferring taxes, which means postponing taxes right now for some variables that you don't know in the future. Do you know how long you're going to live? No. Do you know what inflation will be when you get to that retirement age? No. Do you know what taxes are going to be, if they're going to be up or down, or do you know what the market's going to be like? That is 4 variables. And you've got Uncle Sam who's spending his money willy-nilly, and he's going to walk back in at some point and be like, Nancy, Jeanette, Afori, hey, you guys did a really good job building that little seed into a massive harvest. I'm going to need my percent. And I haven't been that responsible. So I'm going to need, I don't know, 38%, 40%. And I'm just making up numbers because I don't have a crystal ball. But again, it's an exercise of thinking and imagination. And so if you believe that things might not be set up for you to win, but for someone else to win based on what you do, how hard you work, maybe it's time to start thinking and challenging the way you think differently. And now I know this is a lot. I just dropped a lot on you. You might be uncomfortable. And I don't mean to make you, no, that's not true. I do mean to make you uncomfortable. I want you to be shook, shaken, and jarred to the point of taking action because I want you to see that there is potentially a better way forward as long as you have discipline, as long as you have belief and faith that you can take control of this. So let's go on. What is the money multiplier method? Again, it's just 3 things. It is nothing more than having, first, a machine. We need to use a machine. Then we have to have the marathon. And then finally, we have to have, or we like to map out the way to being a millionaire. And this is through time. This does not happen overnight, not a get rich quick scheme. When I think about this slide, I think about that the infinite banking concept is no different than doing an Ironman. It's no different than achieving a black belt in a martial art. It takes time, patience, persistence, repetition, belief, and knowing where you're going. Like, I won't even run a marathon until I bike 112 miles. And trust me, if you go and think you can sign up for an Ironman and do the 140.6 mile race and just wake up one day and just walk out there and do it. Now, if you can, please let me know. I want to meet you. But most people understand that they have to train, be persistent, and do whatever it takes for them to reach that goal. That's where I'm coming from. I've done Ironmans. I've achieved black belts. I'm an infinite banker. And I'm telling you, it's all the same thing. It's persistence and staying focused and steadfast to your goal, to your belief, to what you want. It's all about you. So let's talk about this machine. Now, this machine, I've already told you what it is. Usually, you've got to wait for 34 minutes to find out, but it is nothing more than a dividend paying whole life insurance policy from a mutually owned company. Why mutually owned? Because you want it to benefit you, not a stockholder or shareholder. You want to be the shareholder. Again, it's about you. What is this not? We are not ever talking about ULs. We're not talking about IULs, VULs, ULs, or term insurance. There is a place for term insurance, potentially, maybe even convertible term, but we're not talking about any of these things to build your banking system because they're not the right vehicle. They're not the most optimal. They don't have you in control, and it's not about you. Remember when I said 2 out of 3 ain't bad? That was where an IUL is in favor of the insurance company. It's in favor of the agent. It is not necessarily in favor of the person that owns the contract. We want you to have a unilateral contract where you are in charge, which is only permanent, cash rich life insurance. So let's do an exercise together. Now, this one's fun. It's interactive. It requires you to get a pen and a paper or a marker or a crayon or a pencil or whatever you want to draw with. So in the top left, you're going to write bank. In the top right, you're going to write policy. I love that, Nancy. Persistence and patience. Now, under bank and policy, I want you to write the word liquid or liquidity. What is your definition? Pop in the chat or write it on your notebook. What is your definition of liquid? Like water, right? It's accessible. You can get at it. It's not locked up, as I like to joke, in financial prison. It's available immediately for you to use. Now, under bank, I just changed this number last night. But under bank, I want you to write down, if you have a high yield account, put the amount that you're getting paid for your high yield and interest. What is the bank paying you? What is the amount? Do I have anybody here with a high yield savings or money market or something that's paying them more than what you get in a regular conventional bank? 4.25%. There you go. Good job, Anthony. So I put 3.8% because that's one I've been seeing a lot. There you go. See, Brian, 3.8%. I knew Brian was going to be here and was going to write 3.8%. Now, under policy, I want you to write down 3.25%. And I want you to put G1. That's your first guarantee, G1. Okay? There's going to be 2 guarantees in this chart, so keep track of them for me. Now, under bank, I want you to write taxable. All that growth, whether you're Anthony with 4.25% or Brian with 3.8%, that growth is taxable. You will pay taxes on that growth. Now, under policy, you have tax-free growth, tax-free loans, tax-free distribution. Under bank, you can write unstable, not stable. Again, I don't know or care which one's grammatically correct. You pick. But what I mean, what my definition of unstable is go back to the beginning of 2023, look up the Silicon Valley Bank, and everything I tell you, please look up. Fact check me. Look these things up. Don't take my word for it. Do your own thinking. Do your own research. But you're going to find that the Silicon Valley Bank was a $204 billion with a B dollar bankruptcy. Why did that happen? Because the people that had their money deposited started getting uncomfortable with some of the things they heard. So they went to get their money out. Now the bank doesn't have the money there. Why? Because they practice fractional banking, meaning they're only keeping a fraction, 10% of what's been deposited, and they're turning that money into 10 times as much money. Now, banks can print money and it's not illegal. If you and I print money, we're going to end up in a 6x6 cell. Just saying. Then you had the Signature Valley Bank that failed shortly after that, which was another $100 billion failure. And then you also, if you go back to 2008, 2009, the housing crisis, the bubble, right? You had 364 banks fail, go bankrupt. How many insurance companies? Anyone have a guess? Goose egg, 0, zilch, 0. So then under policy leads me to the next word, stable, stability. Everyone of the mutually owned dividend paying whole life companies that we partner with, they're all mutually owned companies, and they've all paid dividends every year, meaning they've been profitable every year since the day they opened their doors, all over 100 years. That's the first thing, our first thing we're looking for in our partnerships that we build to help you take back control of that banking function. Now, for this example, write down 148 years. This is where I have all 4 of the simple banking policies are with one company at this time. Now, under bank, you have unprotected. What do I mean by unprotected? How many entrepreneurs do I have here? Anyone own their own business, own rentals? If someone gets hurt on your property, in your business, and they sue you, or someone sues you, your money in a conventional bank can be accessed by an attorney, liens and judgment. We live in a sue-happy society. Think about all the billboards in your town. Do you want your money to be accessible by an attorney? Because if you can access it, if they can access it, is it really yours? Is it safe? Well, what about in a policy it's protected against liens and judgment? Now, I live in Florida, so sorry everyone who's everywhere else. Greatest state in our country, it's fully protected against liens and judgment. It's state statute. So every state is more protected than it would be in a regular bank account, but it varies state to state. Most states, 37, are fully protected. Okay. So now if we just pause and look, which side is winning? If you went and asked your, I had a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old here this past weekend. If I asked any of them, say, hey, which side of this is better for your life? Not for insurance, but for your life. You would say, oh, I want the one, right? If I'm writing down the perfect investment, and this is not an investment, but if I'm writing that down, I'm going to say, oh, I want the one that has tax-free growth, that has a guaranteed growth rate or growth rate, that is in a stable environment, that is protected, and that I have access to. Well, that sounds good. Well, what if we could have our cake and eat it too? What if we could go to the next item? Under bank, you have no death benefit, but under policy, you have a tax-free death benefit. So remember when I ask you to exercise your imagination. Now I want to bring you back and imagine that now you are on Dex, you just got a promotion. Brian, you got a promotion. You are now on the board of directors of a bank. And we are sitting there together because I'm also on that board of directors. I'm actually going to be a banker here soon. But now we're on the board of directors and we're asked, hey, guys, gals, where do we need to keep our stable money? Our money that has to be protected, our money that has to be safe. Where do we store it? What's the best storage place? Are we picking the left side or the right side of this chart? Now, it's super easy. You guys understand it's going to be the policy. Well, banks understand this. Banks have quadrupled, which is 4x the amount of whole life that they own since 2013. Think of Super Troopers. That's a lot of DIMP. That's a lot of whole life insurance. That is why there are so many executives at the banks. Now, the number as of Q2 of 2024, we're almost to Q2 of 2025. So almost a year ago, they had 225 billion with a B dollars in whole life, permanent whole life insurance. They own more whole life insurance than they own real estate and buildings. That's astounding to me. It's crazy. That is crazy. And so the question then, if you bring it back to this being about you, where do you need to store any of your savings, your money that you want stay safe and protected? On the left side or the right side? Pretty easy, right? No tricks here. Where do the banks keep their money? Where should you keep your money?
Your real estate business lives and dies by the network and the connections that you make. I mean, after all, your network, well, it's your net worth. That's what you always heard, right? If that's an area where you desire improvement, well, Private Money Club, it's for you. PMC saves you precious time and money by bringing the real estate world, well, right to you, right in the palm of your hand. So get in on the action like so many others have by going to privatemoneyclub.com and sign up.
So now let's look at this. Break another pattern. How does your money flow? Now, we're going to use Dex because I just saw your name. Dex, you're a patient man. You have kids. We know each other, right? And you have some discipline. And now Dex wants this new car. His kids have made a mess of his car. It smells like food and other unmentionable things. He's like, even getting it clean, I still can tell my kids have made a mess of my car. So he's got this car in mind. And it doesn't matter if it's a Fiat or a Ferrari, just add a zero, take away a zero, add two zeros, whatever car you want. This is just an exercise in logic, not math. But I want you to look at the logic of this. So Dex has discipline. Well, that worked out nicely. So Dex came to my bank, the Bank of Sipple. What a good name for a bank. And he deposits over time $25,000. He's been paying himself on a regular basis or capitalizing his banking system, my bank. He's put 25 grand in and I'm paying him 4%. Dex is getting a minivan, he says. So now Dex is getting this new minivan. Whew, that is a sexy, sweet ride. And I tell Dex when he comes to get the money out, I'm like, brother, what's up? Congratulations. Your family's getting so big. I've got a proposal for you, Dex. Now, it's going to sound a little crazy, but I'm telling you right now, don't take your money out. Let me give you a loan. Let me give you a loan for that 25 grand for 6% for 60 months. And Dex thinks, what? I'm going to keep his money earning 4%. I'm going to give him a loan for 6%. And I tell Dex, if you do this, if you do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to make money. You're going to make money and have the vehicle. Am I telling Dex the truth? Remember, we're boys. I'm his friend. He knows me. I know his kids. Does he trust me? Does he believe me? Am I telling him what's true? Most people would say no, because 4 minus 6 is -2. We know that negative is not positive. Negative's not good, especially when it comes to money. But watch what happens. At 6%, his monthly payment for those 60 months or 5 years is $483.32. His future value, and by the way, it took me 19 times. I always emphasize this. This was the part of any infinite banking concept presentation idea where I, Jason Sipple, got stuck. I just couldn't get it. I believed it, but my brain would get stuck here on this problem and I couldn't move on. So if this is your thing, do the math. Go get a future value calculator. There's lots of them available for free, and you'll find out that this math is right. Add a zero and it'll just make that $289,000, right? And your monthly payment of $4,833. The future value here, if he left the money with me, like I told him, is $30,525. Now, I don't know about how you do math, right? How you do math where you live, but in Florida, 30,000 is more than 29,000 or 28,999. Is that accurate? And just like I told Dex, wow, that went too fast. Just like I told Dex, he made $1,525. Why? Because his money was uninterrupted compounding, the eighth wonder of the world, and he's paying back a depreciating loan value. So he's paying down on something. And at the end of that time, you could do an inverse, save at 3 and borrow at 6 and still make money. Go check it out. Do it yourself. Now Dex, because he's got this new minivan, he really likes Jason the banker. He trusts me. So he's coming to my bank. And during this exercise, an up-leveling, if you've seen this before, is add your name to the family bank. What would you call your privatized banking? But Dex comes now because of all that money he saved with his minivan and with what he's learned from taking back control of his banking. He's got 100 grand and it's got to sit somewhere, right? So he likes earning 4% on his money, or like Anthony, 4.25. So he brings the 100 grand, he gives it to Jason, the honest banker. By the way, my address is, and you can mail me. No, just kidding. But remember what I said earlier. When you deposit money in the bank, is that an asset or a liability to the bank? An asset or a liability? It is a liability. Why is it a liability? It's a liability because now my bank, the Bank of Sipple, has to pay 4% to Dex. Okay? So what do I have to do with the money? I have to go make money with the money to be able to give Dex the 4%. Remember, I'm a bank, so I don't have to guarantee. It's not contractual. but I still said I would do it, right? At least for the time being, till I changed my mind and I changed the rate to less. But that's for me to worry about, not Dex. So anyhow, I'm a really good banker and I'm paying him 4%, but I'm better at moving the money. So now I lend it to Anthony, who, is buying a new beautiful home. Look at that home. That thing is gorgeous. Look at the lighting in that. Whoever set that really knew what they're doing. And now the seller is going to deposit that money somewhere. Where do they have to deposit it? Well, back in the banking system. And now that house looks nice. Maybe I need a blue BMW to sit there. So now Anthony buys a blue BMW. So now Anthony goes and takes another loan from the bank, and the car dealer puts the money back in. And now, even though that home's new, our spouses are like, you know what? I like this kitchen, but I want to change this: the island, the backsplash, the lighting, maybe the bathroom. So now we're going to take out a home remodel, okay? And look, it's 9%. Notice that the more risk to the bank, the higher the loan rate is. You guys seeing the pattern here? Contractor brings the money back. And now, because of all the new things for the new home that Anthony just bought, Anthony now has a bunch of credit card debt and he debt consolidates it because the bank sent him an offer saying, hey, I know that you've been our best customer and you got to buy all this new stuff, all the furniture, all the room stuff for your kids, all the new stuff, the new garbage cans, the new fence, all the new things that you didn't even think about. And now you got to consolidate debt. So let's look what just happened to Anthony or Dex, who deposited their money with me. They paid me, the banker, 4%. But now let's look at what happens if we look at the spread that they're making. 7 minus 4 is 3. 8 minus 4 is 4. See if this thing can keep up with my brain. 9 minus 4 is 5, right? And 12 minus 4 is 8. If we add these big blue percentages up, what does it equal? 20, right? 20%. Now 20 is how much bigger than 4? Is it 16% bigger? Or is it 5 times more? 5 times more. Anthony got it. It's 500% more. Whoa. The bank paid me 4%, paid Anthony 4.25%. And now it's making 500% annually? Sounds crazy. Sounds like it couldn't be true, doesn't it? Well, go check for yourself. Go check BauerFinancial.com. Every single bank, whether it's a credit union or a local bank or a big bank that's too big to fail, they all are making 400 to 1,300% a year on you and I's money. The money that we work so hard to earn and deposit in their system. Again, wouldn't it be better if it was our system? If we weren't asking permission to use money? Just an idea. Now, let's look at our annual pattern of spending. Now, this one I'm going to go, wow, I am going way long today. So this is good for you guys. So this one, I want you to think of this. We're going to go move money left to right. I want you to think of a teeter-totter in your mind. This is not one I've done over yet, but a teeter-totter like this. You're up here launching up. You can't even get the teeter-totter to go down and have fun in your life because you're stuck up here in the air and you've got a 2-ton gorilla sitting on the bottom. This is our annual pattern of spending. This is where all of our money is going. It's feeding that big gorilla. So we're going to look at this. This is how the average American, male and female, have been spending money for the last 4+ decades. That's how long this research has been going on. So for every dollar, we spend 20 cents, whether you're making $100,000 a week or $1,000 a week. We're spending 20 cents of every dollar on our automobiles. Now we're spending 30 cents of every dollar on our housing. Now everything else is about 40%, which leaves us a very generous paying ourselves 10 cents of every dollar. But now remember, we finance everything we buy. We either pay interest, earn interest, or paid interest, or we give up the opportunity to earn interest if we pay cash. So let's look at the interest that we're paying out on an average basis. And let's imagine that gorilla down at the bottom, the money starts flowing back up to put more weight, more resources back at the top of the teeter-totter, okay? So now out of every automobile, it's 5 cents of every dollar. We're going to shift that back over to our savings. Okay, you guys following? And now you got 30 cents of every dollar. But if you've just moved into your house, remember it's all about our patterns, our understanding how money works, and banks are masters. They've been mastering this since the 1600s or before even. And so 25 cents of every dollar, 70 to 80% of what you are paying for your mortgage is actually going towards interest if your mortgage is anywhere from year 0 to 7. And we move how often? Every 0 to 7 years. So we reset the clock all the time. Everything else is about 5%. I think it's more than that. So I think this is even a small number. But if you add those together, that's 35% that we're shifting to the savings side. And I'm going to show you mathematically how this worked with a real client coming shortly. But anyone here want a 35% raise? 35% just by changing one thing again. Don't get lost. Don't forget, we're only here to change one thing. So alternate financing, a better way to purchase vehicles. Not a super sexy way to say it, but the reality is I know how you have all bought cars in the past. You've either financed them, paid cash, or leased them. In all three of those examples, who is making money with the money that's being purchased? On a lease, someone's making money to lease you the car. On a financing, you're paying someone else interest. And when you pay cash, don't you give up the opportunity to earn interest on that money for the rest of your life? Yes. You've done Sally Saver, right? You saved the money up and drained it to zero. And now you build it back up. The definition of the rat race. So let's look under the hood. Let's talk about how you can finance these things yourself and look under the hood. So we're going to call our premium deposits or our premiums premium deposits because they're being put into your system. You're paying yourself first, following the commandments. Love God, heart, mind, soul, love thy neighbor like thyself. 1, 2, 3. Almost everybody that has been in debt at some point in your life has gone 1, 3, 2. And so next we're going to talk about the age doesn't matter. Okay? Whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, the age doesn't matter if you have equal health. And then a death benefit. I like to talk about the death benefit because it's important for me and my boys and my wife that we have the tax-free wealth transfer. But for buying things, we're not looking at that. We're not designing around this. And so let's look at what we're going to do. We're going to imagine that this individual has been able to save 10%. They earn 100,000 a year. They're depositing 10,000 a year into their account. They're capitalizing their system. They're paying themselves first. Now, after 3 years, they have built up enough to take a $25,000 loan. And similar to the example earlier with the 6% and the 4%, right? Earning at 4, borrowing at 6. This individual is now going to do the second rule of this or third rule of this, and they're going to pay themselves back. They're just going to redirect the money back into the system, right? They were going to pay some other family. Now they're just paying themselves. So we're going to do $500 a month or $6,000 a year. So now over 7 years, they have deposited $70,000 in their premium deposit bucket. They have paid themselves back over that 5 years, $6,500 a month or $6,000 a year for another $30,000, and they've taken a loan for $25,000. So 100 minus 25,000 is 75,000. But look at the cash value down line number 7. It's $67,881. So in actuality, by being an honest banker, they've given very little interest away to anybody else. They've gotten back 91 cents of every dollar. Now, we're going to do something that's completely bonkers next, something that's crazy. We're going to not pay ourselves back or not pay any premium deposits for the next 5 years. Again, the minivan that Dex has gotten a little beat up. His family hasn't been gentle, neither has he. He drives that thing like it's a Ferrari. And so now he gets back to this point and he's going to make another purchase. He's going to buy another vehicle. He's going to pay the same schedule back to himself for $30,000 back into his bucket. Okay? But look what happens with his cash value. It keeps growing. It keeps growing, even though he took a $25,000. He didn't make any other premium deposits, which I would never suggest any of you do. But his cash value grew by $23,592. This time around, he's actually making money using his system, right? Because doesn't that fit logic? He took back the function of banking and financed it himself and paid himself back. That is a profitable industry for anyone involved in financing things. You do it through your system. It goes without say, you're going to be profitable. But let's look at what happened or what rules we have to follow here. The 3 rules, I touched on this a few times already. Pay yourself first as if your life depended on it. Pay yourself with interest. Just because some of the dealerships out there are offering 0% financing or have in the past, you should pay yourself back with interest. If you're borrowing and the average rate's 5%, pay yourself back at 5.5%, 6, 7%. Pay yourself more. It's your system, for goodness sakes. And then recycle and recapture the money, meaning continue paying your premiums. To recapture money, that's all it means. If you look in Nelson's book, he talks about recapturing is the act of paying your premium deposits. Don't stop paying them like we showed you. Okay. So if this works for the car, the truck, what else can it work for? Can you imagine that it could work for anything? Now, we're going to go into debts because most people have a lot of debt. Whether you're making a lot or a little, we still tend to have a lot of debt. Let me pause real quick and let the guy that I was going to talk to right now know that I'll be right with him. So hold on a moment, folks. I'll get right back into this. Ask any questions, share what you're thinking, pop something in notes. Okay. Poor calendar management. I don't know who did that, but someone did. So anyhow, now we're back. So let's talk about an actual client, an actual example. Many of you here have worked with me, have worked with our team, have worked with the money multiplier. And we're going to go through where most people are starting this process. It's where I personally started this process with over $114,000 in bad debt, not including my mortgage. That we still haven't paid off, but we're doing that a little differently. But let's talk about this chiropractor. This chiropractor from Minnesota saw Brent speak, went and talked to Chris Naugle in the back of the room after this presentation, pretty similar to this presentation. And the doc was like, guys, Chris, can you help me? And Chris looked at him and he said, the best answer you could say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you've got going on. I don't know where you're at with your math and your mindset. I don't know where your habits, your discipline are, but I will do everything to try to help you. I will do everything. No, we don't try. We do or do not, like Yoda says. I will do everything in my power to help make sure you're on the path to help yourself. And so Chris dove into this guy's debts. He got them all listed out. And then he asked the guy, are you saving anything? He said, well, yeah, I'm putting, this amount, $25,000 a year into my qualified plan. And Chris said, well, would you be willing to change one thing, to redirect that money, to pay your system, to use it to eliminate debt? And he said, well, yeah, if it's going to be faster than 19 years, yeah, why wouldn't I? If it's guaranteed to grow and guaranteed to protect my family, yeah, I like this. If this is really true, then yeah, I want to do this. And so he went through the application process. He got approved, this chiropractor, and he started putting $25,000 annually into his premium deposit. So year 1, he deposits $25,000 and the cash value is $14,863. So he takes a loan and he's going to do what with the loan? He's going to take back control of the banking. So he's going to knock out Discover, knock out Lowe's, and he recaptures those payments back to himself. Now, because he freed up the 448, now does he get to just go spend it on something else, get another debt? Or does he play honest banker and pay it back to his system? Well, of course. We're being honest bankers here, right? We're going to pay it back to the system. Now he does the same thing, 25 grand deposited, and he has risen his cash value. He's got more to use. He's made the payments of that 448 times 12 back to himself, and he's got 21,000 and change. So now he knocks out Nordstrom, Wells Fargo, and a private loan at 10%, probably private money for an improvement or something, or maybe the business. Now he's at about $24,000 a year, pretty close to it, 23 and change that he's recaptured back to his system. In year 3, makes the same deposit, and look, something cool happens. He now has crossed the efficiency point. He puts in 25,000, he can use 25,551. He's getting $541 for a tax-free loan from the insurance company in addition to what he's deposited. And he's paid himself back 23,000. So now he's going to knock out the BMW and the boat, because of course you have to have a boat if you have a condo on the water, right? In Hilton Head, I think it was. So now he's brought back that to 3,600. Remember, it's a marathon. So far in years 1, 2, and 3, how much has he put into his system? 75,000. How much has he borrowed against the system in loans? 55,000. So if we do the math, how much is left in the policy? How much is left? What do you guys think? Is it 20,000? That's pretty good math. Nope. It's actually 75,000. When you take a loan, you are never borrowing or withdrawing your money. You're borrowing from the insurance company, from their bucket. You're collateralizing and borrowing against your money. So all of your money has been growing that entire time, earning you uninterrupted interest, most likely earning you dividends and protecting your family, and you're paying off your debt. Seems like a pretty good formula. Year 4, Kim knew the answer. Good job, Kim. 25,000 deposited, 26,000 available, paying himself back 44 grand. Wasn't able to pay anything off fully that year, but look, he knocked down the condo payment. Year 5, remember, how long did it take before to pay off all this debt? It was 19 years. Okay, so now he's deposited 25,000. He has a little bit more than 27,000 of cash value. He's paid himself back 44,000. Just think of getting a $44,000 raise. That's only by redirecting the money back to his family, completing the circle. Man, technology. That's what happens when I get excited about changing the presentation. So now he pays off the condo. He's almost shifted all of that debt in 5 years back in his favor. That 2-ton gorilla has gotten a lot lighter, and now that teeter-totter is starting to tip in his favor. You guys see that? He's starting to have what we call a tailwind versus a headwind. Nancy, I promise I'll get to your question. It's a great question. I just don't want anybody's heads to explode as I'm going through this. So now, not too many variables to think about at once, right? So now, in this year, year 6, something happens. Can you put more than 12 ounces of coffee in this 12-ounce mug? Yes or no? Simple question. The reason we have to expand, and I know you guys all said no because I could hear it, I could feel it. You guys are really smart. You're not telling me yes because as creative as we are, it would overflow. So at some point, you're going to reach the limit. Your system, your business that you set up is going to become really profitable. And you're not going to be able to deposit anything else into that system. So when that happens, you're going to have to do what? You're going to have to expand your system. And so now he did the same thing. He puts 10,000 in, he's got 13,000 available. He starts policy number 2, deposits 25 grand, has that same amount, 14,000 and change. Payments of 54 grand, total cash 82,000. House is paid off. Year 6. This doc has recaptured $5,777 that used to go to other families back to his family in 6 years, in less than 1/3 of the time. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Now, Nancy asked, was this doc paying the simple interest every year? Yes, he was. But I don't go into that extra step here. That's what our team is for. That is what our implementation specialist, the concierge team, myself as a mentor, we're here to help guide you to make sure that you're taking the steps. We can only focus on the next thing. So as you're paying yourself back, you have multiple ways you can pay yourself back. If you believe like I do, the wealthy have more choices. Is that fair? I believe it is a fair statement, a true statement. So now that we showed you how long it took the doc to pay it back, what if you could find out how long it would take for you to have paid off all your debt? Now remember, you have to earn more than you're spending. You have to be able to take that middle, change that one thing, and pay yourself first. If you're not earning anything, that's the first job, make money. But if you're looking to know as you go through underwriting, as you're asking that mutually owned dividend paying company, will you let me be your partner? Can I be an owner in your company? You know, while you're finding that out, we will do the math and tell you if it's an avalanche, a snowball, highest interest, which one is going to be the mathematically quickest to pay off your debt, how long it'll take, to pay yourself back, and how much interest you're saved. Would you guys like to know that? That is a free tool that we offer. So it just keeps getting better. Like we keep telling you, hey, this is too good to be true. Let us keep giving you more value so you get your goals. Why? Because we believe, like I did when I read Nelson's book, that if this was true, and it is, every American should do it. Can every American do this? Yes. Will they? No. So remember, I promised we'd map out the millionaire mystery. So how do you eat an elephant? It's easy. Takes a long time, but one bite at a time. Remember, the man at the top of the mountain or the woman at the top of the mountain didn't fall there. They had to climb. They had to get there. Or maybe if they already practiced this, they were dropped off on the top to ski down. I don't know, but it's a process. It's a system. So is it possible to owe no man or no woman nothing? The machine works for debt, expenses, vacations, taxes, homes, purchases, tuition, whatever you can think of. Remember, it's an exercise of imagination. It can do it. So if we continued to pay back the homes as promised, because we're being an honest banker, we're not stealing the peas, as Nelson would say. $879 a month, 251 months, same thing here. $500,000. But it gets better because we're earning interest on all that money that's going back in there. Now it's grown by an extra $250,000, $749,000. We're well on our way to mapping out the millionaire mystery. And we haven't changed anything. The stock isn't working any harder. He's not doing any more. All he's doing is paying himself first through his own privatized banking system. So now that you know this, do you think you should do this? And shouldn't everyone you know do this? If you're not doing this, aren't you stealing from your kids, your grandkids, and the future kids? Remember, it's about long-range thinking, long-term thinking. It's about really wanting to change that pattern in our family for the better. As my friend Warren Buffett would say, I don't really know him, I just think that's fun to say. If poor people just do what rich people do, they wouldn't be poor anymore. And at the end of our time, only one or two things are going to happen. We either live or we die. We graduate, we're no longer here. I'm sorry to tell you that that's going to happen at some point. You know, you're no longer going to be here, but it is our reality. At some point, we all are going to graduate. So which are we better with or without? And that's up to you to decide. I know my answer. You can decide yours. And now we're at the end of our time. I hope that you all got a lot out of this. I'm going to post my link here with you. And so you have a decision to make. You've given me your most valuable resource. I am insanely grateful. You've given me your time, your energy, your focus for over an hour now. And it takes a lot. And I am appreciative. Like I said, if you give me your attention, I will serve you. It's your most valuable resource. So now, are you going to keep that as a knowledge-based resource, or will you do what Nike says you need to do and just do it? Take action. If you've been here and watching and you're ready to start, you don't learn anything until you test yourself, until you're approved. So that is the first step. So book a call with me. Ask that. Kim, I did answer the one question in that. You will pay the simple interest back to be an honest banker, and that is what the chiropractor did. We just don't go into a lot of detail there. So I believe that was a question. If you want to ask me additional questions, you can reach out to me a number of ways. You can just get started, earn while you learn, as Dex says. So be blessed, everyone. See you again soon on another Take Back Control Tuesday. But now that you know what to do, it's up to you to do the things that you need to do. Be blessed. Take care. I appreciate you.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Not only that, I've got a book that I created, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, where we actually show you what the wealthy do in the game they play with money. I want you to have that for free. And if you want to know about all my new videos coming up, click that alert button. Actually, smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.